Qsports. I'm Mamadou Gajak, and thank you for joining us. Up, we're talking about the Gambia's World Cup qualifiers, especially against Gabon away. The match in the first half and going in, everyone expected, well, of course, if you're supporting game, there are lots of talking points, and we will be getting into that. If you're just joining us, I'm being joined in the studio by Sir Tijan Gay, journalist and pundit. When it comes to Gambian football, he's been following some of these players in the National First Division League. Some of them who started in the second division, of course, transitioned, and now they're playing professional football. So we'll dissect about the game. Well, first we will look at the post-match, and we'll hear from the coach, that is Jonathan McKinstry, about his reaction of the game. But first, let's look at the match report. In what was new coach Jonathan McKinstry's second game in charge of the Scorpions, they had gone in the match in good spirits after their 5-1 win against Seychelles 3 days earlier. The good mood for the Gambia continued in the start of this match when they took a deserved lead in the first half, with Yankuba Minte opening the scoring in the 33rd minute with a header after Omar Gay's neat cross. The Panthers trailed at half-time but rallied in the second half, scoring an equalizer in the 52nd minute through Jim Alavina. The second half was delayed by at least 45 minutes, owing to a power outage at the Stade de Franceville. The delay seemed to galvanize the home side and kill the momentum Gambia had established. As the match intensified, Aubameyang powered the Panthers in the lead, and Dennis Bouanga added a third 2 minutes later. Gambia came back to give the host some nervous final few minutes after Ibu Adams scored to give the visitors hope of salvaging a point when he scored in the 79th minute. Despite loud penalty appeals from Gambia's players, which might have leveled the scores, Gabon successfully avoided surrendering an equalizer and earned the 3 points, placing them 1 point behind Ivory Coast. Gambia sit 5th in the 6-team group on 3 points, having only won once in 4 games. At the whistle, an incensed Yankuba Minte had to be dragged away by teammates as he angrily confronted the referee. Here is how Scorpions coach Jonathan McKinstry responded to the loss.
Yes, first of all, we were very pleased with how our players approached the game. I thought we attacked, we played well. The disappointment probably comes from not converting our chances. I think very rarely do teams come away in Africa and create more chances in the game than the home team. I think in the first half we created 4 very good chances, Gabon won. In the second half, Gabon did a little bit better. But if we score our chances, the game is finished. So, yeah, proud of the way the players played, but disappointed that we couldn't kill the game off in key moments.
With 6 matches still to play, the best hope for the Gambia's chances of progressing would be to win all their matches and hoped the teams above them drop points. That's the match reaction there. Gabon versus Gambia in the World Cup qualifiers. That's match 4 in the FIFA World Cup qualifiers for the Gambia. Loss free, won 1. That's the situation of the team. 5th in the 6th team table in that order. Sir Tijan Gay joins me in the studio. Sir, if you look at the match, you watched it, we all followed what happened. Gambia started brightly, taking a first half lead, and everything fell apart in the second half. But preceding that, of course, something happened, which we will get into.
Thank you very much, Mamadou. It's good to be back here, and of course, congratulations for the brilliant job that you've been doing here on your platform. It's one of the most followed sports programs in the country, and a huge congratulations goes to you and your entire team of production. Yes, the game, baffled, disappointed, but not surprised, because we all know in Africa, well, with all due respect to some of the laws, with all due respect to CAF itself as an institution. But we've seen a lot of countries get away with some anti-sporting activities they do. Some people call it the dark arts. Some countries know how to play it and get away with it. That's the unfortunate part of it. Although I understand the regulation says that if a host team, if the stadium has some lighting problems, their maximum time given to them is 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, the game is abandoned and they would lose the points. And I understand Gabon waited until the 39th minute. That's the time that they brought the lights back. So definitely you will know that that's well calculated. And unconfirmed reports have it that day before the game, we were training at the stadium and lights went off. So we should have prepared for that. All said, they played by the rules, but I think there are certain things, even if it is legally correct, morally it's wrong. You cannot have a country like Gabon with all its economic might, with all its infrastructural might, and they're playing a game of this magnitude, playing it at night, and then lights went off for 39 minutes. That was really well planned, and that really caught off our rhythm. That really caught us off guard, and we subsequently lost the game. And not only the unsporting behaviors, I think the referee's decisions were so dubious, so dubious. The third goal, I don't need a replay to know that it was an offside. It was a clear offside.
Okay, so we'll just take a short break. We have some technical problems, and we will be back in a short while. Yes, if you're just joining us, this is Qsports, and I'm Mamadou Kajiga. We deeply apologize for that short interruption there due to some technical difficulties. Setijan, we're talking about the match, some football antics there by Gabon. Well, allegedly, we didn't know what exactly happened on the ground, but as a host country, you should be prepared for a situation like that. We know, yes, unforeseen circumstances can happen. Even in Europe, there are matches which are disrupted because of either light issues. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes because of natural things happen. And even due to the weather, some matches are abandoned. Sure. But in this case, we suspected something must have happened to trigger it. You can continue from that point.
Yes, as I was saying, for the lights went off for precisely 39 minutes, just 6 minutes away from the time limit of 45 minutes, you would definitely suspect something that was going on. And obviously there was no natural catastrophe, there was no natural circumstances that led to it, although maybe the match report or from the match commissioner would know more of that. But we hosted Gabon here during the COVID period. We know what happened. They had some issues here with COVID protocols. So definitely we should have known that when we go there, we might encounter certain antiques, but there are things that you can have control over and things that you cannot control. The Gambian delegation, there are things that they cannot control. And I think Gabon, well, very, very harshly played their cards on us, and it told on us, and it was rather unfortunate. And I think it is high time, I said it in one of my publications on social media, it's high time that CAF look at some of these things that the so-called bigger teams get away with it, because there was no way that, let's say, a Cameroon or an Ivory Coast playing in Gabon would subdue to these treatments. It is only countries like Little Gambia, countries like Little Comoros that would have these kind of problems.
Lesotho and the
Lesotho and others. So I think it's high time that the playing field should be leveled by CAF in its regulations. And some of these teams, they get away with these things. And the refereeing decisions, it's absolutely scandalous. You hardly see such decisions going away some of the big teams. And well, we've seen Senegal, they suffered in a number of occasions, but recently we've seen how referees treat them. We see that they never suffer in these kind of circumstances, maybe because of the level or the magnitude they've reached, maybe because of the presence they have in CAF. I'm nowhere insinuating that there's some level of favoritism in CAF, but you look at it overall, it is a myth, but it is a myth that has become reality to some of us, particularly the less privileged nation or the nations that are not considered bigger footballing nations. So very much gutted, but I really like the attitude of the coach, because from the post-match press conference, the reported or the alleged antics that we suffered before the game, he never made mention of that.
Mention of them, yeah, exactly.
Why? Because he knows that he has no control over them. What he has control over is the performance of his boys at the pitch. And he read the missed chances, but definitely you would know inside he must be fuming of some of those things, but he has no control over them. So some of these young players would learn because they know that these kind of things happen. Some years ago, a decade ago, we went to Algeria. Saifi, the Algerian striker, took out a knife, threatened some of our boys, and in the knife it was inscribed "Made in Gambia."
Made in Gambia.
There's
yes.
no knife that is made in Gambia.
Sure.
Yeah, these are things that maybe some of the Omar Colis and others would get used to it, but some of these younger players, this is the first time it is happening to them. But in Africa, rather unfortunately, you need to learn and learn the hard way, and sometimes you have to have those dark arts attitude in you in order to survive, and that's what the Gambian team should learn from this particular game.
And prior to the game, we had reports that they were delayed at the airport for several hours as well. Could that also be on purpose? Because there was no way, unless maybe you are alleged to be a criminal or on suspicion of something, then you are detained at the airport and you go under a lot of scrutiny. But otherwise, there is no point a national football team that is its only purpose in a particular country is to come and play football, to be delayed at the airport for several hours.
It was very deliberate. You and I are both fortunate enough to travel with national delegation. You would definitely know that you are giving special treatment because you are there on sporting purposes and all. So to be delayed at Libreville for 6 hours, where we just made a transit to get to Franceville, you would know that it was deliberate and they did it on purpose in order to discourage us. And once again, as I said, I like the attitude of the team. Nothing of that was mentioned.
Mentioned exactly.
Either on the GFF social media outlet or anything. Because if we did mention of that, they would definitely knew that we were attained by what they were trying to do. But I think they are considering, well, protesting on CAF, writing a very serious letter to CAF, and, well, denouncing some of these things, because these are things that cannot continue. They can play by the law, but at the end of the day, CAF need to put a stop to some of these things. If not, well, the integrity of the game and that famous quotation of CAF fair play is not well respected, and it is only in Africa these things continue to happen.
Sir, could this be something sort of a revenge, even though we know the circumstances are different? Yes, a few years ago, during the height of the COVID, the Gabon players were in the Gambia for a return leg of the AFCON qualifiers. That's our first AFCON in which we were in the same group with them. Eventually, in fact, we topped the group by virtue of goal difference, because away in Gabon, it ended 2-1 in favor of Gabon, and the return leg at the Independence Stadium, we won by 2-1 as well. So let's say on paper, it was all equal in terms of the goal scored and goal against. Sure. But on goal difference, eventually Gambia topped that group and qualified for their Made in Africa Cup of Nations. But at the airport, you know, then Aubameyang was playing for Arsenal, a very influential figure, took pictures at the airport, looks very ugly, put Gambia in a very bad shape. Internationally, reputation damage, in fact, sporting-wise. How can players come to the airport and be sleeping on the floor? Sure. But we all know what happened with the COVID protocols. Could this be a situation to say we were treated badly in the Gambia back then, a few years ago? So it's high time we pay back.
Yeah, I think that was an isolated issue. Well, in as much as human beings and as people that travel to other countries, you would not like that image of the Gambia or see players, although we were competing against them, sleeping at the airport. Nobody likes that. But that is an isolated issue. Gajaga, everybody that knows the Gambia knows that the Gambian people are not hostile. Our stadium is not even hostile. We've witnessed games where the opponents were even more supported than us. Yeah. We saw Yaya Toure came here, we saw Javino came here, and people applauded them like they were playing at home.
And in 2007 against Guinea as well, we almost equal when it comes to the number of supporters at the stadium.
It's not a hostile ground. It was Gambia, Namibia here. The fans were furious with how their players were playing. Namibia had a free kick and everybody was shouting for the goal. They ended up scoring the goal. The Namibian head coach was saying he never witnessed that in his entire coaching career. So the Gambia is not a hostile ground. No matter how much Aubameyang wants to portray the Gambia as a bad nation and all, but we are not a hostile ground. That was an isolated issue. We are very nice people. But at the end of the day, Gabon they played by the rules, but I think there was some element of lack of gentleman, lack of sportsmanship coming from the Gabonese. In as much as you can do certain things, but to do these things, it was entirely planned. That's my point. And what is more worrying is nothing might come away from it. Maybe it will lead CAF to adjust some of these regulations and say, fine, even if the regulation is 45 minutes, but they need to add something to it. Because if Gabon does it and get away with it, somebody else can do it. But looking at the bigger picture, you would definitely say, okay, little Gambia going all the way to Gabon, and Gabon putting some antiques in place to beat us, you would definitely know that we are going to places now. We are no longer those minnows that would go to countries got battered. Fine, in some games, last games we lost, but the fact that Gabon treated us this way and went to the extent of doing this to us when we were leading and playing better than them, that shows the level that this team has gone to and continue to go to. And that is, of course, really, really something positive. I'm looking at it at that positive perspective that if Gabon can treat us this way, they know that Gambia is no longer the minnows that we can mess up with.
And there seemed to be a fair bit of trouble between the Gambia and Gabon. 2011, friendly international, away game. The match was hosted in Libreville. Gambia won by a 0-0. Goal scored by Mustafa Jajo, the former captain.
Yeah.
Gabon fans were not happy with their team's performance, but instead stoned the Gambia team boss, injured the team captain at the time. So he's saying Gabon again.
Yeah.
There seems to be some fair correlation between the two nations, but anti-football, these things happen.
So all these things have to be put into perspective to know our history with them. All right, just look at Aubameyang. Aubameyang has been a football gentleman, but it seems whenever he plays the Gambia, that other side of him is surfaced. We saw Aubameyang at Arsenal. He even hardly receives a yellow card. He could be clattered upon. He just continued to play. He came to Gambia, had an issue. He had to say some damaging things about the Gambia, about CAF, until he was fined by CAF. And look at his attitude.
Attitude, on the pitch,
On the pitch.
Yeah.
There was a foul. He took the ball, just blasted the ball away.
Didn't get a yellow card. Got away with it.
Got away with it. So all these things put into perspective surfaces a long-standing, let's say, relationship, bad boy relationship between the Gambia and Gabon. And I'm sorry to say, but it is most of the time fueled by the Gabonese. But let's look at it positively. If we can rub shoulders with them and then make them do these kind of things, definitely they are afraid of us. And of course, I can't wait for that October 2025 game here at home. Hopefully, we will play at home. And then we take our revenge, but this time on the pitch against them.
Yes, take revenge on the pitch. But on the positive, say, Gambia, for the first time, I've seen the Gambia national team playing against an opposition that on paper are better than them, and they have a go from the first whistle.
Yeah, I think all of us, we were all rooting for a coach that play attacking football. But all of us, when we saw that lineup, definitely we were like, wow. Wow, because we were all amazed by the audacity of the coach, because it was only one holding midfield player in Alassane Mane, and we all know Alassane Mane is the best lying playmaker. His most important attribute is not his physicality, is not his ball-winning strength. To have Alassane Mane, have Musa Barrow, and have Yankuba Minte in that middle of the pitch, and out wide you have Aliou Fadera and Ibrahima Koli, that was an amazing attacking team. Well, I personally believe there should have been, let's say, an Ibo Adams or
in the midfield to help.
Or Yusufa Bob to help.
Winning balls.
Balls. Maybe in the second half, that is where we have to, because second half, most of the second balls were won by the Gabonese and all. Maybe we lacked a little bit of steel. And when Ibo Adams came into the field, it was a little bit stabilized. But that shows the level of audacity that the coach has and the level of belief that the coach has on forward play, because I followed him in his two press conferences, that is his unveiling as a coach and the unveiling of the national team. And there are these key words that he always say: forward together, press and counter press. And that is how the modern game is played. Although people have different take on how football is being played, there is no universal way of playing football, but everybody loves positivity. And if you look at the profile of players that we have, if you look at how we love football as Gambians, our culture as Gambian football, we love possession football. Yeah. We love, as the famous word, kata, lab, and all. We love it as Gambians. So if you have a coach that plays a kind of football that is not ingrained in our passion of football, in how we see football, that's a problem. That's what many Gambian fans had with Tom.
Yes, exactly.
So if you have a coach...
In as much as the results
the results were there, but his style of play did not please most Gambians. But if you have a coach that believes in these ideals of the game, and we have those players that play in this way. If you look at Yankuba Minte, We know him of being a dribbler, one of the top 5 dribblers in Europe. If you look at Ibrahim Koli, his pace, his dribbling abilities, Aliou Fadera, Alassane Mane, all these players, Moussa Barra, all these players are skillful players. So you have to have a system of play that suits the profile of these players. So to play that way is positive, but at the end of the day, we also have to play in such a way that we don't concede a lot of goals, we don't concede a lot of chances. And our biggest problem has been on set pieces. We concede a lot of goals on set pieces.
On set pieces, yeah.
Idrissa is a towering figure. Omar Koli is a towering figure. And I think if we work well, we should not be conceding those goals. Because in the modern game, 60% of goals come from set pieces. If you can defend well on your own post and maximize your chances at the opponent's post, your chances of winning the game is always very, very high. And those are the things that we need to look at. But overall, it was very positive. Despite the loss, everybody was upbeat, everybody was positive. Let's hope that we continue this trend. Qualifying to the 2026 World Cup might not be a realistic issue, but for the first time in a long while, we can be playing parallel competition, and the coach would have the opportunity to build his most solid team, or the team that he believes can win us games. But as he said, he can start with these players, but later on, you never know. Other players can come in and, of course, take positions. That is football. Some fan favorite would fade away along the way. Some players that many people believe should have been given the chances, we might not see them again. That is how football goes. It is an instant issue. The one that gives you the result now matters. The result of yesterday, it doesn't matter in football. Yeah. So we are very positive with McKinstry's approach. Let's hope that it would yield us a lot of positive results, particularly in these World Cup qualifiers. And for AFCON, it is a must-go. Minimum requirement to get to AFCON. Let's wait for the draw and know our group. But as of now, everybody is upbeat, everybody is positive. And Aliou Fadera, oh my lord, that kid is so good. And to have Yankuba Minte and Aliou Fadera as our wide players, we can cause trouble against any other team. And to have Moussa Barrow, Badamusi, or some of these players that are missing, Ablai Jallow, we have a good number of players, and they are all missing due to injury. I'm not nowhere insinuating they can come and take their places, but if you have abundance in quality and depth in quality, and you match them with what we already see, we can be nothing but upbeat and positive about what we should expect from the future.
So looking at the team, still talking about the positives, the young players, those who have their debut, Adama Bojang came, of course, in the tail end of the game. We've seen the resurgence of Adama Sidibe. This is a player that I've watched in the Brikama Nawetan. It was when one of my colleagues, Ibrahim Akebi Sonko, posted his picture on social media. I realized he was playing for Punta Lana in the Nawetan, but later, as you were mentioning before the start of the show, that this is a player who plays for Marimo also in the first division. That transition coming into the national team and scoring against Seychelles in his debut.
Yes, I think the fact of the matter is we already have quite a number of players at the senior national team, but I think the younger players that are pushing these senior players is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Remember, sometime last year, we were just from Argentina where our boys did extremely well. And it is important to know that 4 of those players are now in the senior national team. But apart from that, look at the number of players that our local leagues have produced and went on to play, most of them in Central Europe, in Eastern Europe, and some have made a breakthrough to the top 5 leagues. Adama Bojang, Yankuba Minte, these are the few that have made breakthrough. But we are anticipating a good number of them to make a breakthrough. That's one. Secondly, I think the fact that we know Gambia have abundant talent, raw talent, is there for everybody to know. What we lack is, let's say, representation to take us to the higher levels. What we lack is, let's say, a professional league that can get Gambian players from here straight to the top 5 leagues. Exactly. That's what we need. What we need is, of course, let's say, maybe a lot of coaches that can be abreast with modern training techniques, modern training drills, so that if the players go to Europe, they don't spend a lot of time in the B teams to get themselves adhered to the modern way of playing football or modern tactics. That's what we lack. But talent, we have abundant talent. And that is what is now showing at the national team. We have a lot of these players that are absolutely good. Adama Sidibe, when he was playing here, many did not even realize his talent. I saw him at Gambia Ports Authority, where he played only 1 game, at Marimo, where he was fondly called Mbappe, scored some very interesting and amazing goals. And now he is at St. Johnstone in the Scottish Premier League. And it is not only Sidibe, we have a good number of players that are knocking on the door of the head coach. All we need to do is to consolidate all these players to be a team. Because remember, a team is not only a set of very good players. As the coach said, it's a set of good players that can play best together.
Yes.
And that is the responsibility of the coach.
If that's the case, then Nigeria,
yes.
no one would have
sure.
any result against Nigeria.
Look at Senegal. For how long did it take them before they win the African Cup of Nations with all their good players? So at the end of the day, we need the coach to build a very solid team, a team that complements each other. But once again, very important is for everybody to know that I have to earn my spot to that team. We can say a lot of things about Tom, but Tom made the national team jersey very hard to earn. Very hard to earn. You have to do your utmost best to earn it. Later on, he had some selection issues that we find it very difficult, to understand and explain. But in his early days, he made it very difficult to earn. So the coach, I'm pretty sure he would continue with that trend based on players that are in form and players that are ready to adhere to his tactics and give us something. But when it comes to talent, we have them in abundance. All we need is better representation, and let's hope that by 2025 or latest 2026, we have a professional league. Believe me, if we have a professional league, the number of players we'll be selling would be much more bigger than what we have. Right now, we have the likes of Moody Stick PR, Real de Banjul. All the teams are doing very well. Superstars Academy doing very well selling players. But imagine if we had a professional league, the number of players that we would sell. And that would always have a reflection on the national team. Because we are not, let's say, Morocco, Senegal, Algeria, that can sit one day and say, okay, we have a player of Senegalese origin, Moroccan origin, playing in the French league, doing very well.
Yeah.
Let's snap him. Oh, he has no chance of playing for the French national team. Let's snap him. We don't have much of that. Although we have like the likes of Madi Kamara, Sarr and all. We have very few of them. But we cannot rely on that. We rely on the players that we produce locally here for them to excel and come back and represent us. And let's hope that that would be the case. Although the coach in his presentation said he has about 25 players of Gambian origin who are of European nationalities, he might be looking forward to them, but not now. Let's hope that that is the case in the near future. But as of now, we should focus on developing more talents. But huge kudos should go to the local club owners and, of course, the coaches, because on the very, very meager resources, they develop these players. And at the end of the day, a good number of them, the returns they have from this player sale is very little. Why? Because it is not a professional
league. Exactly.
That is the main problem. So that is why we can applaud them, but we would implore the federation, would implore the authorities to try to make football a much more entrepreneur-based entity. Football is business.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not person anymore. It's not, okay, I'm from this place, let me support this 4th division team, let me put my 50,000, 20,000. It's no longer that. That 50,000 or 20,000 is nothing in football. You have to put millions.
Millions, yeah.
But if you put in your millions, you have to be sure that you recoup that millions that you are putting, or even more. Yeah, even more. So that is the case, and let's hope that we are there very soon.
Well, sir, I know it's completely out of discussion, but the positive image of Gambian football, we saw the under-20 coach, Abdoulaye Bojang, very well connected with Steve Biko. He was their former player. Currently in England, pursuing, is it a B license, coaching course? That should be something very positive for our football. Yeah,
very, very positive. And if you look at the number of coaches that are now pursuing higher courses, getting these B license, C license, it is now overwhelming. At one point of time, we only had Sang Dong, who was coaching in the league that had that high-level coaching qualification. Prior to that, it was the likes of Axigai that had the opportunity to get training in Germany, and later on the likes of Honorable Coach Alaji Sila Sam Top got their coaching batches through a CAF program that they did in Nigeria. That was in '85. After that, it was a big vacuum up until Sangdong got his coaching batches, and then when the CAF licensing program came, we had a lot of coaches that are trained, but for quite a while, the A license is yet to be done. We have a good number of coaches with B license, and I don't know the reason behind that. But looking at it at the other picture, we have a lot of local coaches that have done quite well to reach certain level, but they need documentation. They need licensing
to show for it.
To show for it. We have some that are in Europe doing well, but I will give more plaudits to the coaches that came back here to show what they can. Let's say Ibu Jara. had, of course, was living in Norway, lived in England, came back here to coach. We had Matar Mbuj, came here to coach. And then some of the former players. Abdoulaye Bojang is on top of my list of somebody that is Mr. Gambian football. Because Abdoulaye could have done a lot of what his colleagues did, went to Europe, stayed there, but he believed in football. When most of his colleagues traveled to Europe, he stayed with Steve Biko under turmoil. He developed Steve Biko. He became the trainer. He became the manager, became everything. And he was the only coach that helped Steve Biko to win their only trophy. That was back in 2013. After that, he continued at the domestic league, got his opportunity with the lower teams, under 17, under 20. And it is befitting that he achieved what he's achieved. And it is befitting that he's getting what he's getting. I have no problem with some of our former players given the chance. But if those players that have their license are based in Europe, do not want to come and coach here because, let's say, the paycheck, and then you have others that are here suffering with us, develop with us, I think those are the players, or those are the coaches rather, that should be considered more. If you talk about others, I don't want to mention them, you have to talk about Abdoulaye Bojang, you have to talk about Ahmad Cham, you have to talk about, because these people are here. They could have they had the opportunity to stay in Europe, but they decided to come here.
I remember when Ahmad Cham was in 2009, went to Germany for
coaching training. Came back.
Could have decided to stay.
A good number of them came back here, suffered with us. So those people have to be much more revered than those that are in Europe, because they are here, they train with us, they at least giving back something to Gambian football. And if there's an opportunity that should be given to any coach, they should be considered first. That's my honest, patriotic take on that. But overall, I think we need a lot of trained coaches. The more trained coaches that you have, the more better players that you have.
Players that you produce.
Yes, that's the hard fact. Football is not about only raw talent. If it was only raw talent, Gambia would have been playing at the World Cup. But it's not about that. It's about how you fit in a team. It's about tactics. Modern game is all about tactics. And every other day, even the likes of Pep Guardiola, the likes of Arsene Wenger, the likes of Thomas Tuchel, all of them develop themselves. They are elite coaches, but they develop. They have refresher courses at the end of every season. So we need those kind of football-minded people to be developed more, so that at the end of the day, when our players are trained here, when they have the opportunity to go to a Manchester United academy, an Arsenal academy, when they play, they will know that this player got talent, but this player understands the game. They are not going to spend 2-3 years to develop that player to understand the game. The only way we can get that is to train more coaches, and that's the positivity. Kudos to Sangdong, kudos to Honorable Coach Alaji Sila Lamin Sarr. They've done a good job when it comes to training these people with the licensing system, but we need more. Imagine if you have the CAF A license, the CAF Pro license, then most of our coaches will not need to go to England or go anywhere to develop themselves. They have it here at their disposal, but let's hope that that is the case very soon.
Well said. We'll take a short break, but just before that, on a final note, when it comes to the Gambia national team, the game against Gabon, you and I used to be at the stadium. There is this constant criticism of the national team. When they play, by the 70th minute, is almost like dead legs. That wasn't the case against Gabon up to the last whistle almost, when that Yankuba Minte shout for the penalty happened. Gambia were constantly pressing, even though they conceded at the time it was 3-1, in fact, before there was that reduce of the deficit. That level of energy, this is a national team players who have been pressing from minute one, up to the end of the first half, and then that thing of the power outage happened. Sure. Then come into the second half, up to the late minutes of the match, before the final whistle, we saw that constant attack and that high pressing of a Gambia national team. Before, the blame used to be like 70 minutes, the Gambia national team is dead.
Yeah, there can be two factors to that. One, back then we have a lot of players that had big names, but they were not playing regularly.
Regularly, yes.
So we need to call them because they are Mr. X, they are Mr. Y, they are Mr. Z. That is one thing. The second thing is our national team was not professionalized. What I mean by that, back then we, of course, with all due respect to the coaches that we had, the physios, the trainers that we had, but most of the coaches, the trainers, the physios that we had, particularly the physio, the trainer, the team doctor, did not receive that elite football treatment, particularly team trainers. So at the end of the day, you need physiotherapists, you need trainers, you need people that are oriented with sports science to take you to the highest level. you need those gadgets to know your level of fitness, where it run for some minutes to know your level of fitness. If you have an elite fitness coach that comes to the team and then you run for 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes, 30 minutes, he will know that whether you have the level of fitness to compete for 90 minutes or not. Back then we did not have that. So now our national team is well professionalized, so it is virtually, it's going to be unaccepted to have a player that is not fit to play for our national team. Right now it is unaccepted. Before, I can remember there were times when we called some couple of players, I don't want to name names.
Yeah, exactly.
They came, they were so-called professionals. On the whole, they were just playing Sunday leagues in Scandinavia and all. But we could not trace where they were playing back then.
Mm-hmm.
But that
the technological advancement is not there.
That is no longer the case. And coming back to the game, I think we gave a lot, particularly in the first half. Our press and our counter press gave the Gabonese a lot of problems. At one point of time, Gabonese could not even have 3, 4 passes together.
Yes.
So we disposed a lot of energy. But the coach knew that later on, he brought Ibu Adams, and he brought, of course, Adam Obojang. He brought up the guy who's playing in Odense, what is it, Musa Juara.
Juara, yes.
These players had legs.
Yes.
So we continue pressing, and at the end of the day, fine, we did not score the third goal, but up until the last minute, we were giving a lot of problems to the Gabonese, and then we had a valid claim for a penalty. That was a clear penalty. Yankuba Minte dribbled past 2 players, crossed the ball. It was destined to reach a Gambian player. It hit the leg of their defender. Referee waved to play on. So
exactly, and his hand was stretched.
Yes.
It wasn't like the hand was...
Yes, if it was not the hand, the ball would have reached the Gambian partner. But at the end of the day, as you said, we played at a high pace and high intensity, and that's how the modern game is being played. If you cannot play with high intensity, there is nowhere you can play with that is why right now, if you're 35, 36, 37, 38, as a forward player, as a midfield player, there are few that can manage it. Let's say Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, because of their high level of intelligence, they play the game at their own pace, not at the own pace of the game, but because of they have high technical qualities. But if it is not that, you hardly see a 35, 36 surviving at the highest level because of how the pace of the game is being played.
Yes, from there, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be dissecting on the Gambia's defense. Why are we conceding so many goals? For the past matches, we can put the numbers together. Against Senegal, that was in the AFCON, 3 goals. Against Guinea, single goal. Against Cameroon, 3-2 that match ended. And 3-2 against Burundi, and as well as when you look at the number of goals that we've conceded, 2 goals against Cote d'Ivoire, and the number keeps increasing against Gabon, 3 goals. Why are we conceding a lot of goals? After the break.
Have you been looking for the perfect indoor router with long-range Wi-Fi coverage and faster internet speed connecting all your smart devices? Well, we present to you the Qcell Indoor Router, a router that has all you need and much more. For just $4,275, you can get 4G plus internet speed, wide coverage, and connect up to 15 devices. That's not all. The indoor router can be used for both office and home needs. So, enhance your internet experience with our indoor router. For more info, call our customer care on 111. Qcell, Sunubus, we innovate, others follow. Qcell, the fastest growing network in the Gambia, now presents to you the eSIM. Qcell's eSIM allows you to electronically scan a code and join the world of digital SIM cards. Customers with physical SIMs can easily switch to the eSIM as well. So rush now and get connected with an eSIM and start using the latest mobile technology with your trusted GSM operator. For more information, call our customer care on 111. Qcell, Sunubus, we innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us. This is Qsports, and I'm Umutu Gajaga. We're talking exclusively about the Gambia's national team's performance in the World Cup qualifiers, especially the recent game against Gabon, where they lost by 3-2, despite going ahead in the first half. Lots of talking points, but now joining me in the studio is Seth Tijan Gay, Gambian journalist and also a football pundit. We are going to look at the defense. Sir, we've conceded a lot of goals. From the Africa Cup of Nations to now, it's more than 10 goals that we've conceded. And most of the goals similar. You've earlier on talked about the set pieces, corners, free kicks. We can't deal with them despite having two tall defenders on that day against Gabon.
Yeah, I think as a team, you win together and lose together. It is not part of team ethics to blame individuals on a loss. But a team is of course segmented. You have the midfield, you have the forward, and then you have the defenders. So at a punditry point of view, or as a journalist or as a technician, you can assess your weaknesses and of course your strength. And of course Gambia recently, we've conceded a lot of goals on set pieces. I think aerially we defend poorly, because with the modern game, most of the time you defend the space. Much emphasis is placed on defending the space. That is why man marking sometimes it is not considered very ideal now in the modern game. But yet still there are some coaches that defend the space and of course do man marking as well. But the Gambia, most of the time it is the second ball, aerial ball. It is most of the time the second ball that gives us a problem. Another way through which we concede is the edge of the D. We concede most of our goals. For example, in the African Cup of Nations, the 3 goals that we conceded against Senegal are very similar. Edge of the D, Lamine Camara, edge of the D, Sadio Mane to Lamine Camara again, edge of the D. It was very similar. So the problem is coordinated defending. That is the problem, because you need to fight for the first ball, win it, and fight for the second ball as well. And then in as much as Ibu Adams is a tough tackling defender and all, midfielder rather, can win balls, but at the end of the day, you need people that are very much aware, particularly at the end of the D, to pick up the second balls. And the second balls, most of the time, you would anticipate that players that are nimble-footed, players that with low center of gravity, because their movements are faster, you would anticipate that these players would pick up these balls. So you cannot entirely blame it on only the giants. Others have to do their job. But all said and done, I think we need to work more on it, because teams would definitely look at the Gambian games. They would know that we've conceded a lot of goals on set pieces, and they would work on that. And against Gabon, it was very disappointing how we conceded. And even against Seychelles, we conceded through a set piece. So these are things that we need to look at. In as much as Omar Kuli has been there, the most experienced defender, I think he's the most capped Gambian player in recent times and all. But we have Idrissa Cissé that join in. Maybe the partnership of Omar and Idrissa for the first time alongside Omar Gueye, who was playing for the first time. Mohamed Sani, it was only through the AFCON that he started playing. And Ibrahim Ajaju. So we have a back four. All of them, they don't have 5 caps playing together. So that might be a factor. But the conceding of a lot of goals have been there for a while, particularly on set pieces. So the coach would definitely look at that and work onto it. But definitely we need to be much more solid. As I said, the most important thing in a game is what happens in the 2 boxes. What happens in your box and the opposition box. If any time that the opponents come into your box, particularly through set pieces, you concede, you have a problem. Because with other teams, they can spend a lot of time knocking the ball around, wait for set piece, and then try to capitalize on it. They don't care about possession and all. All they care about is try to get set pieces and score. So if we concede a lot of goals through set pieces, then we have a problem. So we need to work on that. But definitely, as I said earlier, maybe some players that are currently playing, by the time McKinstry reach his 10th game, they will be no longer in the team and all. Maybe somebody would step up. Fine, we have other defenders. Alaji Sen is yet to come due to injury. We have whole lot. Dembo Sedikan is yet to get his minutes. And at the end of the day, with the modern game, you need towering defenders. But if you look at, let's say, Martinez of Manchester United is not the tallest of defenders, but he's one of the best defenders.
And deals with some of the tallest strikers.
Yeah, if you look at Cannavaro, he was one of the most revered defenders in his career. He's not the tallest. Sometimes it is about anticipation. Sometimes it is about duels. Sometimes it is about how you do things. Abdoulaye Paco Kor here in the Gambia was not the tallest, but during his career has been one of the most phenomenal defenders. So we need that, and we need to react faster. But hopefully the coach would work on that. But the number of goals we concede on set pieces is absolutely alarming, and something needs to be done, particularly with the second balls. If you look at the second goal we conceded against Gabon, it was it was something that could have been dealt with, honestly speaking. The first goal as well. At one point of time, we had three defenders, Omar Koli, the left back, Omar Gay, and the other central defender, all were lined up against one particular player. And at the end of the day, I think Omar Koli needed to step forward.
Step forward, yeah.
Step forward.
Get closer to the player.
Get closer because there was another covering defender behind him. Maybe there was lack of communication. Maybe the player behind him did not tell him, step up, I'm covering you. All these things have to do with coordination and communication. But as I said, maybe the fact that they did not play a lot of games together, there was that lack of coordination. But at one point of time, these things would no longer be acceptable, because if you work hard to score very good goals and at the opposite end concede sluggish goals, at the end of the day, the goal that you scored counts little. So let's hope that it is sorted out.
Well, say, in as much as we're not trying to pinpoint individual players, trying to blame because we've lost the game, I think we've started a project that is together with this coach. But looking at the goalkeeping department, do you think there could be some changes as well? Well, Ibrahim Ajaju, you and I watched him in the league when he was playing for Real de Banjul before moving to Estonia, where he now plays his professional football. He's been doing very well at club level with his team. Coming into the national team, now he's been trusted over Seh Sibi, who's been like one of the second goalkeepers or the third goalkeepers during the time when Toldo was the #1, and then Babukar Gay came in, took over. Well, this time around, we understand Babukar Gay is injured. What do you make of the goalkeeping department as well?
Yeah, personally, I was a little bit surprised that Ibrahim started, because in as much as Ibrahim has been very, very good, we all know that we watch him at Real de Banjul here, and at paid, I think, for 2 consecutive seasons, he has been part of the team of the season. So that means that he's been doing very, very well. But Seh Sibi has been there for a while, has been understudy to Toldo, has been understudy to, of course, Gay. And I understand in the last AFCON, he had little issues with the coach. That is why he was no longer being selected. And he came back, so I was anticipating that he was going to start. There are certain reports that, of course, he was initially the first choice goalkeeper, but later on something happened. That's why Ibrahim played. But all said and done, I think in every department you need healthy competition. Babukar Gay, we all know how good he is. We all know how he has taken us to another level. And as much as Toldo have done his utmost best for the Gambia, but when Babukar Gay came, he gave us assurance. He was a goalkeeper. He is a goalkeeper that is a very good shot stopper. And at one point of time, particularly the AFCON in Cameroon, we all know that he was one of our best players. And then we were like, okay, we have a goalkeeper that can take us for 5, 6, 7 years steady. Last AFCON, he was in the best of form. And then Lamin Sarr is very young. Particularly, that is why Tom did not trust him a lot and all. And now we have Ibrahim Ajaju now join the fray, Seh Sibi being back. So it's going to be a very tough competition, because Seh Sibi, as much as he's playing in Serie C, but if you follow him keenly, he's been doing a lot of good things for his side, saving penalties here and there, winning matches for his team. And probably amongst the goalkeepers, he's playing at the highest level.
Yes, exactly.
Fine, Bulgaria, Babukar Gay is playing in Bulgaria and all, and Jaju is playing in paid. But if you look at Italy, Serie C can be compared to those levels. And if you look at the best goalkeepers along the years have been trained either in Italy or comes from Italy. The Buffon, the Peruzzi and others. So if you have a goalkeeper playing in Italy, it is very much real. And when the likes of Bakassi, Musa Kamara, all were well trained here by an Italian coach that was hired by the Gambian government, who spent some time here. And during his reign, he developed a lot of our goalkeepers. So I'm not siding with Seh Sibi, but just giving you a take of how good Italian goalkeepers are. But Ibrahim played, but that does not mean that definitively he is the #1 choice.
#1 choice, exactly. There has
I'm
to be
pretty
competition.
sure Seh might come back. I'm pretty sure Babukar Gay, if he is fit, he is coming back and he wants to reclaim his position. And goalkeeping is very different with other sectors. You need to be assured of one particular goalkeeper, and all the others know that this is the #1, but he has to earn it. And I think on the McIntyre's reign, there is no goalkeeper yet who has earned that #1 spot. Ibrahim have very good 2 games, but those 2 performances, I don't think is assuring enough to say he's going to be the #1 spot. He's going to be the #1 goalkeeper. So let's wait and see. But I believe Sibi still have a claim. Babukar Gay still have a claim. Lamin Sarr is younger. Maybe in the future he will have a claim. But Sibi, Jaju, Gay, I'm not yet sure who is going to be the number one.
Quite interesting about the Gambian national team. Well, usually on this program, we talk about 100% Gambian sports, Gambian football, Gambian volleyball, and every other sports. But the European Championship, Euro 2024, I wanted to go Euro 2004. That was when Greece won it against Portugal in the
Famous
finals.
underdogs.
The famous underdogs victory back then. The Euro 2024 in Germany has kick-started. The host destroyed Scotland 5-1. Fantastic game that we've watched yesterday, and matches would continue. QCell are the proud sponsors of that competition in terms of the broadcast on national television GRTS. You can be glued to your television. Later today, 3 matches will be played, and you can follow all the matches as actions will be brought to you. And also, pre-match and post-match analysis, you can watch the European Championship on the national broadcaster GRTS, and QCell are the sponsors. Setjan, just on a final note, lots of positives when it comes to the Gambia national team for the future with the new style of play, the new coach. What do you expect?
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of goals, a lot of exciting play, and I can't honestly wait to have this team play at our own backyard. The coach said that he's been assured by the authorities that before the end of the year, the stadium would be up and running, and if you pass by the stadium, you will see work being done. But work being done and being approved is 2 different things. And at one point of time, this is funny, but Tom at one point of time do not like to play at home.
Yes.
He wasn't happy playing
at home
because he knows that the Gambian fans wants positive play, wants attacking football, and sometimes they push him to make certain changes, or they boo him, or they shout for him to bring in certain players. He did not like that.
Right,
The pressure
okay.
the fans were putting on him did not like that. But I'm pretty sure McKinstry will enjoy playing at home. It's rather unfortunate to have a coach not enjoying playing with his fans cheering him up. Let's hope that that is the case. And with this team, with this exciting new project, I'm sure Gambia would be a very, very difficult place and hostile place for anybody. Remember, we have fans, but fans that are very reactive.
Reactive, yeah.
Yeah, if the team is playing very well, they can support. But if the team is playing badly, they fold their hands.
They fold their hands.
Yeah, they fold their hands. And they can even
in fact, they can turn on the team.
Yeah, turn on the team. So with this project, I am hopeful that we would have a lot of positive things, exciting football, but also winning. Because remember, just after Paul Put left, we had some couple of good coaches that came in, joined the team. By then, we had a very good team. We've always played well home, but we never won. Against Ivory Coast here, we were the better team. When Suleiman Mare outplayed Yaya Toure, outplayed Sheikh Chote, delayed Sheikh Chote, but it only took Yaya Toure some couple of free kicks to score, and they ended up winning. We hosted Cameroon here, played the best football.
Best of football, yeah.
We lost. So we need to play well and win games as well. So let's hope that McKinstry's era would give us that. But first, let's get the stadium done and dusted, and then we play at home, because we would really need that going forward.
We would need that independent stadium to go back there and play and support the national team. Well, that's it for Qsports this afternoon. Thank you very much. Join us the same time next week, and have a lovely day. Bye.